Hello, welcome back to my studio. Today I'm working on a new project. I'm going to make some address numbers out of clay. So I thought that would be fun. I'm going to carve them a bit and make them all fun and interesting since graffito. So I'm making a few different ones for a few different houses. And I'm going to start by cutting out these letters. I just printed them out online and they're about 5 inches tall. So with some shrinkage, they should still be a little bit more than the kind of standard 4 inches because I like them a little bigger. So, all right, I'm going to cut these out and then we'll talk more. First one done. This is going to take me a few minutes. I'll meet you back. All right, I got all my numbers cut out. That one fell, dang it. Alright, a couple of them had pretty thin spots. It's the font I chose, but like this thinner spot, I cut it slightly thicker just to make sure I'm not making my clay too thin. So, there is that. I just use regular printer paper for these. If I were to do a bunch of these, I'd probably cut them out of either craft foam or like that roofing felt, tar paper stuff that they use for roofing. So, but these are just regular paper for now, or thicker paper would work too, I guess. Anyway, I'm not planning on doing tons of these unless I super love it. So there's those. Next step, clean up. All right, so that was the first step. Now we get to do the actual clay. So I've got this big bag of clay. This clay is used for tiles and things like that. It's a heavier grogged clay than I usually use. Generally, I use a pretty smooth stoneware. Alright, just going to take the whole thing out. This probably would not be terribly fun to throw with, but I bought it for this and another tile project, so it doesn't matter. Alright, I'm just going to cut. It would help if I had a guide. I don't. So I'm just going to fudge it. Cut a slab. Try to keep it pretty even. Hey, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. And then I've got these. This is just drywall that I taped around. So little working boards so that way I can keep this all very flat. Alright, there's that one. And I think, I don't know, I'm going to guess. I'm doing a few different ones. Let's go with at least 2 for starters. I'm going to roll this a little thinner, more even, as well. Okay, there's that chunk. All right, back in the bag with the rest of you for now. All right, out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to take, and I'm going to cut this in half. Just because it feels like a lot to work with at once. Cut my slab in half, and I'm going to roll it out. But first, this is just a square of fabric with some cornstarch in it, and a rubber band. Super simple, but it helps a lot. So if I put cornstarch down, then it won't want to stick to my drywall as much. Now, this is my rolling pin. It is a like pastry rolling pin. It's got these guides on the end. I put the 3/8 size in there because I normally go like a 1/4 inch, but I want it to be a thicker, heftier thing this time. So when I roll this out, I'm going to roll it from several directions. That helps with warping. Otherwise it can shrink unevenly and you end up with funky shaped letters. I guess it helps with shrinking properly more than warping. All right, so I am going to put a little cornstarch on this too. I'm going to spray this a little bit and take my flexible rib and smooth it out on top. And then I'm going to flip it over and smooth the backside as well. There we go. just a little bit of water. I don't want to make it soggy, but it just helps the rib glide over it better. All right, there's that. And then I'm going to cut out some numbers. So I'm going to take my numbers. I'm going to place them down. See how many I can fit on here. This reminds me of cookies. Anything slab related reminds me of cookies. So I definitely learned how to make cookies before I learned how to do clay. So, with cookies, you want to make sure your cookies are cookie cutters are placed in a way where you can fit the most on there. Same idea here. Yes, there's probably a more efficient way, but I think 4 is pretty good for one slab. So, we're going to go with that. And then I'm just going to cut it out. I've got an X-Acto knife. You could use a needle tool. You could use whatever. I'm just going to go straight down and try to do it as neatly as possible. Alright, there's the first one. So I have struggled with being perfectionistic like my whole life. And I hate to break it to you other perfectionistic people, perfection isn't actually achievable. So that is something I have definitely tried to work on. So I'm noticing as I'm cutting this out, I'm not exactly following the line, but I am getting darn close. And darn close is really good enough. It's really fine. So that's a trait my kids have too, especially my oldest. And so I started pretty early on saying, look, don't even go for perfect. Go for darn good, okay? Do what you can do. Call it good. Because he would just make himself sick over it. And I have made myself sick over plenty of things. So it is not worth it, guys. Do what you can do and then live with it. It's fine. We're going for darn good. There will be 0 people holding up this exact template to these numbers. So the fact that I'm off by a millimeter, it does not matter. It would still look like a number. And it's totally fine. Now, I do try to avoid big flaws, of course, in my work. I do want things to look nice. But just because I can see all the minutia that is not exactly perfect doesn't mean I have to feed into the perfectionistic stuff. So, there's your little lesson for the day. Let it go. Yeah, Elsa had it right. Alright, there's my first letters cut out. They're not letters, they are numbers. My gosh. Okay, so I am going to very gently pull off all the clay in between everything. And I'm going to leave these guys flat. Ooh. I'm going to cut these a few places actually. So I'm not trying to pick it up in one big chunk because that's not working. There we go. Much better. There we go, first 4 numbers done, and hey, they look pretty cool. I'm happy with those. So, yes, they are messy. Yes, they have little dribbly bits on the edges. I will smooth these out, but right now, if I try it, it's gonna go goopy everywhere. So, I will let these dry overnight, and I am actually going to put them sandwiched, so they're kind of absorbing from both directions, which will hopefully keep them flat, and they have the weight of the boards to hopefully keep them flat. So, there's my letter number, oh my gosh, my number sandwich. And I'm gonna finish cutting out the rest of the numbers, and I will meet you back here tomorrow for the rest of it. It is now the next day. You can't tell because it looks like I'm wearing the same thing. This is my studio sweatshirt. As you can see, it is messy. All right, so let's see what we have. I put a plastic sheet thing over it overnight. It's a piece of a drop cloth because I didn't want it to dry too fast. All right, so that is looking good. Let me see. Yeah, they're quite a bit stiffer today, which is what I wanted. And here's the rest of them. All right, there, those look good. So I need to smooth out all these edges at this point. And I have a mud tool sponge and some warmish water. I've got this little plug-in kettle. It is a lifesaver in the winter in my studio. So, warmed up some water. So that way it is not quite so unpleasant to do this. All right, there's my numbers. They look pretty darn good, but they are messy, so I'm going to smooth them. All right, so I'm just going to take a sponge for this. Just go around all the edges. Tedious, necessary. That's not too bad. It's smoothing out pretty quickly. This is a really pretty groggy clay, so I do not want to like sit there and rub forever. The grog will come out. We don't want that. I'm just doing a quick smooth. Just quickly. I also don't want my sponge too wet. It'll be a soggy mess. They're definitely fragile at this point. So I'm thinking about these 9s, they could easily snap there, so try not to apply too much pressure. I'm using my other hand to steady it as I go too. Alright, so I got that one side of all of those. And I'm going to use my board, flip them, and do the other side. Alright, so now they're all smoothed and right side up again. And now I'm going to put on some underglaze. I'm using this kind. This one ends up a little bit shiny even without glaze. So I thought that'd be a good one. Plus, since these are address numbers, I don't want to do any light colors that won't be seen from a distance. I am just going to be painting the top, or underglazing I'm just going to be underglazing the top surface of these. As I'm going to do sgraffito. So the clay color is going to show on the sides and in the carvings, so it works out. I'm not going to be adding glaze to these for a couple reasons. The main one being I have had such a busy month and it's going to look really great without it, and this way I can just single fire it. So rather than do a bisque load run through the kiln and a glaze run through the kiln, I can just do one run through the kiln, which will save me time. And since this underglaze already turns out, like I said, a little bit shiny, I don't really need to anyway. And it's not going to be something you're eating off of or needing to really clean, so it doesn't matter. Alright, there's 2, and I'll just keep going. Alright, there it is. I am going to use my hair dryer to just lightly dry the underglaze. If I dry this too much, it is going to cause it to warp. I know, everything's going to cause it to warp. It's true though. these are really going to want to warm. So I will just be very careful to dry only the top layer of clay and, or not, oh my gosh, only the underglaze and not the clay. Guys, I swear I can talk. I don't know. Okay, here we go. Alright, at this point I'm just going to put the whole board onto my spinner thing that I forgot the name of all of a sudden. And I'm going to do some carving. I'm thinking a universally cool thing is leaves, even though it's blue and not green. I think it would be nice with just a subtle design, so I'm not messing with the visibility of it, but just kind of up close more you can see the design. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. That's where my head keeps going. So I'm going to go with that. Alright, so like vine leaf situation. No pressure. I have no time to redo these. Oh my gosh. Okay, so far I think that's pretty. I'll pull you guys closer so you can actually see what I'm doing. Alright. Can you see that? There we go. Alright. Do the other side. So far, I think that looks cool. And then I'm going to take this, just do a tiny line on each of these, just for some extra detail. All right, there is one number done. All right, moving on to the 7. I'm not picking these up. They're stiff enough to just kind of scoot. All right, there's the first batch. I think they look really pretty and elegant. They would go on any house, go with pretty much any style. I like them a lot. And I think with them being a pretty subtle pattern, with not a lot carved away, that still be very visible from a distance. Because most of it will be with this really pretty dark blue. This dark blue turns out like kind of that color, so darker than it is now for sure. Alright, I'm going to go carve the other ones in a similar manner, and I will show you when I'm done. Alright, here they are, all carved. They look so good. I put them on these drying racks. Yes, the same kind you use for cookies. Yes, the same ones I use for cookies. I will wash them. And that should help promote even drying, which is very important for not warping. Yes, warping again. It's a problem. You don't want warpy letters on your house. So, oh my gosh, there's still numbers. Hopefully I sleep more between here and when I work on them next. I did leave all the little crummy bits on there from my carving, like those, because I don't want to brush them off while it's still wet. I worry that I will smudge things. So I will just leave those until they are dry, and then I'll just take a brush and brush them off. But they look really good. I like them a lot. Hello, it's been several days, and these are mostly dry. I will put them to candle in the kiln and let them it's on low for several hours. I think I love how they're looking. I just thinking I'm not actually loving the uncolored sides. I'm gonna color the sides real quick before they go in the kiln. So I'll do this one, and then I will do the same on all the others. There is that, and I will do the same with all the others. And this is something new I haven't tried before. These are house numbers, and I think they turned out really cool. I really like them a lot. That's very, very pretty. Those look so good. Oh my gosh, more house numbers. And they turned out, I mean, not perfectly flat, but pretty darn flat. Like, flat enough to make it work. There's a one. These look so good. So this is just underglaze on there that I carved through. And then just single fired them. Those look so good. Yeah, I really like how this turned out. They look really, really nice. They're hard to see in a stack. There we go. After pulling the numbers from the kiln, I was not quite thrilled with how messy the backs were, and so I covered the messy bits on the back with some black acrylic paint. Now, acrylic paint won't be the most durable, but it's going on the back of these numbers that are going against the house, so it won't really matter, but it makes it much more presentable since these were a gift. And after that, I used 2-part epoxy to glue on these little loops that were made out of some wire and some little clamp things. I forget exactly what they're called, but these were part of a picture hanging kit, and we just made some little loops out of that and then glued them on so that way a screw or a nail could go through the hole in the loop and then be hung up like that. These were very well received at Christmas, and despite how long this video was, this was actually one of the quicker projects that I've done. So yeah, try it out. It's a fun one. See you next time. Check out this video next.